The night city glowed below the rooftop like a sea of distant lanterns, but Amelia felt none of its warmth. She sat alone in her wheelchair at a small table dressed like a scene from a romantic film, soft lights, elegant linens, and a skyline meant for love, but all she could feel was the heavy thud of humiliation waiting to happen. She didn't know yet that every moment of this night had been arranged behind her back. She didn't know that the people who promised to be her friends were standing only a few feet away, holding their phones, ready to record her heartbreak. And she certainly didn't know that the man approaching her, the impeccably dressed CEO with the tired eyes and the weight of 100 responsibilities on his shoulders, was about to change everything in a way none of them expected. If you believe in kindness and second chances, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us tell more stories that matter. Amelia had spent the last 2 years rebuilding herself after the accident that had taken her ability to walk, shattered her confidence, and left her feeling like she lived in the shadow of her former life. She had once been full of laughter and purpose, someone who ran toward dreams, not away from them. But the world changed overnight, and so did people. The ones who once adored her drifted away. The ones who stayed treated her with careful pity. And the ones who pretended to be her friends now stood in the darkness behind her, whispering excitedly as they prepared to watch her get rejected for their entertainment. Her coworkers had told her this was a blind date set up by someone who genuinely wanted to meet her. They had told her he was kind, gentle, and patient. They had told her he admired her strength. But the truth was crueler than she imagined. They believed she would be rejected, and they wanted to witness her reaction. Amelia had no idea. She simply wanted to believe that someone out there might still see her as more than the chair she sat in. Christopher Hale, the CEO they had roped into this setup under false pretenses of his own, walked toward her slowly. He had been told this was a meeting with a client connection, arranged at the last minute, not a date, not a prank, not a trap. He only saw a young woman with trembling hands and eyes full of something fragile, something that made him pause before sitting down. The city blurred behind them as he took his seat, unaware of the malicious audience watching from behind. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Amelia's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She wondered if she should apologize first, for being disabled, for being here, for existing. Christopher noticed the way she avoided his gaze, the way she tried to smile but couldn't quite steady her lips. Something about her felt familiar, not the face, but the sadness she carried, as if he had once seen it in himself. Amelia tried to gather the courage to speak, but the moment felt too big. She felt like a stranger in her own life, wearing a dress that once made her feel beautiful, hoping it still had some magic left. She hadn't been on a date since the accident. Part of her believed she didn't deserve one. She felt exposed sitting there, and the faint sound of muffled giggles from behind made her stomach twist. She didn't realize the laughter was directed at her. Christopher, sensing something was wrong, gently leaned forward, studying her expression. The way she stared at the glowing buildings instead of him told him she was not truly present, not because she didn't want to be, but because she didn't feel she belonged. He saw the wheelchair, but more importantly, he saw how she tried to shrink into herself, as if apologizing for taking up space. While the two sat at the table, the so-called friends continued filming, whispering cruel assumptions about the CEO's reaction. They thought he would stand up and walk away. They thought he would reject Amelia and leave her with one more wound to bury inside her chest. They thought they knew his character, but they knew nothing at all. As the tension wrapped around the rooftop, Christopher finally spoke softly, not with pity, but with genuine curiosity and warmth. Amelia lifted her eyes in surprise. His tone was gentle, human, grounding. Slowly, she began to speak, haltingly at first, about her job, the things she still loved, the passions she tried to hold onto despite everything. She did not mention the accident. She did not mention the pain. She didn't want sympathy. But Christopher noticed the way she masked her fear with politeness, the way she flinched when she heard a small burst of laughter from behind her. When he turned slightly, he saw two figures, Amelia's co-workers, holding up their phones. Their expressions were not joyful, they were mocking. That was the moment everything inside him shifted. He realized the truth. He realized this young woman had been set up. And he realized she didn't know. A cold anger stirred in him, not loud, not violent, but protective, decisive. He had seen people's cruelty before. He had seen how easily they entertained themselves at someone else's expense. But something about this felt personal, unjust, deeply wrong. And he knew Amelia deserved better than this humiliating spectacle. Yet he didn't expose the betrayal immediately. Instead, he turned back to her with a softness she didn't expect. He didn't want the night to become another painful memory for her. He wanted, somehow, to give her back a piece of the dignity they tried to steal. He began asking her real questions, about her dreams, her fears, her future. Not the kind of small talk people used to tiptoe around her disability, but the questions someone asks when they want to know a person beyond the surface. And slowly, Amelia began to open up. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen, not as someone broken, but as someone whole. She found herself smiling through her nerves, feeling warmth spread through her chest like a gentle flame. Christopher noticed every shift in her expression, every spark of confidence returning to her eyes. The city lights framed her silhouette, reflecting off the soft sheen of tears she had tried to blink away earlier. She looked delicate in that moment, not because of weakness, but because of the strength it took for her to still hope. When Amelia finally excused herself to take a deep breath alone near the railing, Christopher used the moment to confront the two co-workers. There were no raised voices, only a controlled, powerful calm that made his words far sharper. He told them he knew exactly what they were doing, and that their cruelty had no place in his company. He reminded them that the person they were mocking had shown more courage simply by showing up tonight than they had probably shown in years. He confiscated their phones and deleted the videos. When they tried to protest, he reminded them that exploiting someone's vulnerability for entertainment was grounds for immediate dismissal under company policy. They turned pale, realizing their plan had not only failed but backfired spectacularly. They left the rooftop with their heads lowered, shaken and silent. When Amelia returned, she noticed they were gone but didn't ask why. Part of her assumed they had grown bored and left. Christopher didn't tell her the truth yet, he wanted to protect her peace for the night. In the minutes that followed, the rooftop grew quieter, almost tender in its stillness. The city lights shimmered like stars that had fallen too close. Amelia felt a surprising sense of safety beside him, as if the world was, for once, willing to hold her instead of push her away. Christopher asked her what she wished people understood about her. Amelia hesitated, then said she wanted them to know she was not defined by her wheelchair. She wanted to be seen for her mind, her heart, her potential. She wanted to be allowed to dream again. Hearing this, something inside Christopher cracked open. He respected strength, authenticity, resilience, and she possessed all three in ways that humbled him. He realized she had more courage than most leaders he had met. She had faced tragedy and still chose hope, even when others tried to extinguish it. He finally told her what her co-workers had planned. The moment the words left his mouth, Amelia felt the world tilt beneath her. A sharp numbness spread through her body. She stared at him, unable to breathe, unable to understand why anyone would want to hurt her like that. Tears escaped before she could stop them. She felt exposed, foolish, betrayed. But then Christopher leaned forward, not with pity, but with sincerity that reached into her shattered chest and held the pieces gently. He told her she deserved better. He told her that the world needed more people like her. He told her that he admired her. And for the first time in years, someone's words didn't feel like sympathy, they felt like truth. Amelia cried openly, her shoulders shaking, her heart aching with both pain and gratitude. Christopher moved his chair closer so she wouldn't feel alone in her grief. The night wrapped around them, no longer cold but softened by something warm, human, and unexpectedly healing. By the time the rooftop lights dimmed, Amelia felt something she hadn't felt in so long, hope. Not the fragile kind that breaks easily, but the quiet kind that stays. She realized she had met someone who saw her, truly saw her, and didn't turn away. And Christopher, he left that night knowing his life had shifted in a way he couldn't yet explain. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue bringing meaningful stories to life.